All right. Hello. Welcome to Burst of Innovation. On this afternoon, I thought we would talk about a very important topic and one that gets brought up to me quite a bit, which is staying relevant in changing times. It seems like the things that got us to success yesterday, even today, aren't working anymore, or they're not working as well as they used to be. And in fact, on top of that, I recently read a report by McKinsey, the consulting firm, saying that for 6 out of 10 jobs, 30% of their jobs can now be done by technology. So that tells me that things are changing, that the way we do our jobs is changing. And as I mentioned in my email, when I sent this blast out, when I talk to clients all across the globe and I ask them what's keeping them up at night, the thing that they tell me is staying relevant. How do I stay relevant in changing times when things are moving so fast and so quickly, and what got me here is not going to get me there, as that old phrase is going. So I want to talk about today. And I want to open up actually with a story, an experience actually that I had that I think really brings it together of not just the why, but also the how. Because at the end of this, I actually want to give you 3 things to think about how to stay relevant in changing times, not just the why, but also the how. So let me start with a story. So I do a lot of keynote speaking, and I was speaking for a conference of account management. So basically people in the accounting industry, managers of accountants themselves. And he was on the board of the association that brought me in. And before, as I went on to speak, as everybody was shuffling in, excuse me, he said, "Tamara, here's the thing nobody wants to talk about." He said, in 5 years, the accounting degree isn't even going to exist. And I kind of jokingly, kind of seriously said back to him, "Well, then what are we doing here? Like, let's just go have coffee." And he said, "Oh no, Tamara, here's the beauty of it." He said, "When things change, it opens up new opportunities." He said, "Now that technology can do what it took me 4 years to go to college to do," he said, "now that that baseline work is being done, I'm actually opened up to be more strategic and more innovative." He said, "Actually, the beauty of change is that it allows you to be relevant in new and exciting ways, and in ways that are more strategic and more innovative and more human at the end of the day." And I thought his story really brought to life for all of us why it is so important to think about relevancy, not as this either or thing, but as something that we need to think about how to evolve and adapt and grow with. And in all this change that's happening, AI, technology, outsourcing, all of it, actually a squeezed workforce is the other one, by the way. There's 5 generations in the workforce, first time in a very, very long time that that's happened. We're all kind of competing for the same jobs. But in all of that is great opportunity if we do what this gentleman did and just think differently about the change, think differently about our role in it. And what he so eloquently shared with me was that, yes, technology is now doing what it took me 4 years to learn how to do. Technology is now doing what I used to get paid to do on a daily basis. He said, but in that change, new challenges came up, new opportunities came up. And that's actually the first of the 3 skills that I want you to think about. The first one is, how do you shift your lens on how you see the changes in front of you versus it just taking something away from you or being something that just kind of completely changes how you do things. Think about, how do I create new opportunities, and are there new challenges that I can solve because of these changes that are happening? So for example, this gentleman in the account management firm said to me, now that technology is doing all this, it actually presents a different problem. He said, now my client's problem isn't give me the data and show me the numbers. Their problem is, what do I do with the numbers? How do I read the patterns? What are the insights in the data? Now that technology can create incredible charts and graphs and do things that, we as humans had a really hard time doing in seconds. He said, I get to come in and I get to help them understand the data. And I didn't even get to do that before because I was too busy in the weeds, in the numbers. So of the 3 that I want to share with you, that's number 1. How do you look at the new challenges and maybe the new frustrations or new opportunities that come out of the change that's shifting your relevancy or making maybe your relevancy go away a little bit? There's actually huge opportunity if you shift the lens the way he did. So that's tool number 1, mindset number 1 of how to stay relevant in changing times. The second thing I want you to think about and how to stay relevant in changing times is think about your natural assets, your strengths. And I'm not talking about what you do for a living. I'm not talking about what's on your job description. In fact, that's totally irrelevant to me. That's what you do on a day-to-day basis, and that's great, and you may be really good at it. What I'm talking about are your strengths. Are you really good at networking? Are you really good at connecting the dots? Are you really good at seeing 10 steps ahead of everybody else? Are you really good at seeing holes in things, gaps in thinking that other people don't see? Perhaps you're one of those people who's really good at seeing opportunities where others just see gaps. We all have these incredible strengths that we don't think about enough. And they're part of what help us stay relevant in changing times, because those skills are transferable. They can relate to everything that we can do, and in fact can give us the edge if we actually apply them. I think sometimes we get so bogged down in the job description that we do, and that is true whether you are the CEO, a manager, or the front line at a restaurant. We get so bogged down in the job that we stop thinking about, hey, wait a minute, I've got these natural skills that if I leverage a little bit more and in a new way with that new lens, I can add tremendous value and stay relevant. You know, I had this waitress once at this restaurant where they were implementing a lot of technology. So you could pay at the table, you could even order at the table, you could ring for service at the table. So basically all the things that this waitress used to do don't exist. I mean, her job was kind of shuffling food and saying like, are you done? And frankly, we didn't even need her for that because the little tablet at the table gave us the bill. But she was brilliant, and she was so good at timing, at seeing what you needed before you needed it, at starting conversation that made you think about which meal you wanted to have. And because I can't help myself, I said to her, hey, I just want to say you're really great at your job. And she said something to the effect of, oh, thanks. I just, now that you don't need me to pay the bill and stuff, I just want to make sure that you have the food that you want. And I don't think that she realized how brilliant what she said was, or how it really relates to what I'm saying here about tap your assets, tap your strengths, and apply them in new ways. So she is great at reading a room. She is great at kind of seeing when people are getting antsy and when they're settled in. She used that skill in a new way, and in a way that really served her customers and let the technology do what it was doing. And I know I'm picking on technology because that's what I hear from a lot of people, particularly with AI, but there's a lot of other reasons why relevancy is harder. Shift in demand, shift in pressure, shift in expectations, shift in objectives. So know that I'm picking a little bit on technology, but I'm also aware that there's a lot of pressures out there impacting us. So just to recap very quickly, the first one is shift the lens. Remember, when those things start to kind of bump up against you, it actually creates new opportunities and maybe even new challenges that you could solve. The second one is your assets and your strengths. What are those skills that you have that you can really use in new and really valuable ways? Again, not your job description, your skills. Now, the third one is how you innovate. You knew I was going to go there, right? How you innovate is actually what makes you indispensable. If you've taken our assessment, and if you haven't, go to our website and take it. It's on go-to-LaunchStreet.com. You know that if you're one of the 9, whichever of the 9 triggers you are, is a leverageable strength that you have that other people don't have. Did you know that no 2 brains are wired the same way? It's kind of like your thumbprint. It's totally unique to you. And how you innovate is your key for being indispensable. So if you're an inquisitive, for example, your ability to ask those challenging questions is going to help you be indispensable and stay relevant, because you are going to ask those questions that get your clients and your customers and your bosses and your leaders and your teams to think differently. If you're a risk taker, you're that one who's going to help your team, your clients push forward and be bigger and be bolder. If you're an imaginative, you're going to help your team see opportunities and gaps so that your clients and your leaders see where the opportunities are in the holes. That makes you indispensable. That's how you stay relevant. So shift the lens, figure out your assets that you can actually use in different ways, and really understand and use how you innovate. That's how you stay relevant in changing times. And here's the thing about relevancy. I said it a little bit in the beginning. It's really not an either or game. It's really not I'm relevant or I'm not. That's a very fixed mindset. If you really get it, you understand that relevancy is about shifting and adapting and moving with the times. That's all it is. But I think underneath that, if I'm being honest, is a recognition that times are changing and they're always going to change. And we're always going to have to move and shift with it. We're not allowed to do things the way we've always done them. I think that's really exciting and leads to new places. So hopefully that helps you think about how to stay relevant in changing times, helps you think about change as something that you can harness and leverage, not something to be afraid of, and recognize that, even though our bubbles are being filled with new things that make us feel like we're being squeezed smaller and smaller, at the end of the day, what that really does is open up opportunity for new bubbles. All right. Thanks for being here. It's great to have coffee with you this afternoon. I will see you on the next Burst of Innovation.